I love news. I've always been into news, even as a small child. So I worked for many years, first as a reporter, as a writer for newspapers and magazines and the Associated Press, and I started having more of an interest in photography. So most of my first years of doing news photography were just newspaper and news magazine based. But I think I wanted something new, something fresher, something different. And so I slowly started becoming more interested in documentary photography. And I think that kind of really started when I went to Belarus to work for my photo agency to cover the elections in 2006. And I stayed in Belarus for 6 weeks and traveled around the country. And after I came back, I looked at the several thousand images that I had, and I kind of started realizing, looking, that something was working here. There's something more than just the hard and daily news, the feature news. And I started looking at images differently. For me, my main work is still people. It's still kind of more news-based. It's still more kind of factual documentary-based, but I also started kind of moving more towards with the other formats as I started shooting medium format film and as I started shooting on digital cameras, to maybe think of different types of subjects and stories. Stories where there weren't people involved, there weren't people in the images, but there were stories about how people affect the landscape. For example, a story that I did in Sweden that's also still ongoing. Well, the project, as you can see behind me here on the walls, is called DPRK, and that's the acronym for Democratic People's Republic of Korea, which means North Korea. So I was there in 2014 with students and several other teachers from a university in Hong Kong. We typically have these study trips where we take students in various countries around the world to let them explore how it is to report there, how it is to work there, and just to, I guess, to be there as a tourist as well. So now most of my time is less so much doing the daily work, the daily hard news. I still do assignments occasionally for news media organizations. So I took 70 students and 7 teachers for 4 days. Before I departed on the trip, I needed to do 2 things. First of all, I was there as a teacher for this university, as a chaperone for the students as part of the study trip. But because I am a working photojournalist and documentary photographer, my interest was also as to see what kind of pictures I could produce from this trip. A very short trip of 4 days, 3 nights, 4 days. And as it's pretty well known, if you're traveling to North Korea, it's a very, very controlled trip. You just can't walk and explore the city or the countryside on your own. So I kind of already knew what the expectations were. But I also wanted to produce something different than what has normally been produced in North Korea. So landing in North Korea, we were immediately given restrictions. You can't take pictures of military, you can't take pictures of construction sites. And throughout the 4 days, they said, you can't take pictures of this and this and this. You need a series of images to tell the more complete story rather than singular images or 2 or 3 images. So I did my best to kind of stay within these boundaries of not shooting military and other things, but of course I need to produce pictures as well. There are a few images of soldiers walking along, of a soldier basically telling me not to take his picture. There are pictures of construction. Now at the time, so I knew what it is that I wanted to shoot. I kind of had an idea of looking at other people's work, what I should expect. But I think what eventually I didn't know what to expect was what this project has become, this exhibition. I'm looking at themes where how things change over time. And it's very much based on passages from Lewis Carroll's book, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, as we know, she chases the white rabbit down the hole and she slides for kilometers and kilometers and kilometers into this space of this new world where everything she knew is unknown. We don't know about time, she doesn't know about reality. There are all these new things that she's bombarded with, these new sensations, these new experiences. And that's how I felt in North Korea. I mean, I've traveled to many, many places around the world, many difficult countries, many closed countries, not as closed as North Korea. But I found that of all the places that I've been, North Korea was the one place where I knew the least of what was real. For me, it was my wonderland. You know, I was Alice in a way, in that I didn't know in every situation, whether what I was experiencing was a truth or an actuality. And I look at it now that this entire experience was a packaged reality, right? It was something that I was only being led to certain places along with the students to look at their reality that they were presenting to me. There was very, very, very few opportunities for me to interact with North Koreans. And if you're doing documentary work, you want to interact with people. So these interactions that I did have were very brief, a few minutes at a time, and I don't even know how real they were, whether or not these were people who were already, I guess, pre-screened so that they can interact with us, or whether or not they were just random people who I kind of met on an escalator or met in a subway or met here and there. I don't know. It's a good argument to make whether or not this is a true documentary work of North Korea. By far it's not. It's not a true documentary work because it is a packaged presentation of their reality. This is the best that at that moment of what I think I could do and what many people can do is to try to find images, moments that, yeah, they are aesthetically pleasing. They do have compositional value, but yet they're also delivering information. They're delivering information of what maybe life is like, the reality or the truth that they're presenting to me. And I don't know how close that is to the real reality. I mean, I guess we can always guess what is the real truth or what is the real reality. And this is my Wonderland of North Korea.